Went to Antarctica, found yourself an alien. Here's your look at the new Hiya toys, AVP, Alien vs. Predator, the Xenomorph Warrior, Exquisite Mini. Exquisite Mini is a new standard setting series for 1/18th scale, featuring super articulation action figures under Hiya toys. About to look at the alien, but just before we do, let's bring in the AVP Predator figures for some scale comparisons. Now, you're probably not going to be displaying your alien figure with the legs standing straight like this. The only reason why I'm doing it like this is just to show you that the alien is just a little bit taller. Anyways, here he is next to Chopper Predator. Here the alien is next to Celtic Predator, pardon my hairy arm. And here he is next to Scar Predator. Get all the Predators standing. I've kind of run out of space here, but there we go. Just move them all in. Yeah, again, like you're probably not going to be standing your alien like this, but you can still see how much leaner the alien is and how it's just a little bit taller than the other Predator figures we've already looked at. And by the way, a big thank you to the folks over at Hiya Toys who have been providing the samples of all the AVP Exquisite Minis that we've looked at as of late. Looking at the accessories that come included with the Xenomorph Warrior, he actually doesn't come with much, to be honest. He starts, of course, with a display stand, which seems always to be the starting point when it comes to these reviews. It's still the same metal floor grating, although it's not metal here, it's of course just plastic, but it's painted in such a way that it actually does look like real metal. Of course, it does have the singular peg right there that will attach to the underside of the feet. I would say in a case like this, most definitely would recommend using the display stand, because the alien, especially if you're going to be putting in a much more interesting pose than what I've got going on right now, you will want to have some sort of stabilizer so the figure isn't going to fall over. And having that little peg right there attaching to the underside of its foot is definitely going to come in handy when it comes to it standing a little bit more interesting. Now again, we've already looked at these before. There's these open grooves on the back, two on either of the sides. And you get these little eye brackets that basically just attach to the bottom of it, just like so. I know, we've already covered this how many times already. But these basically just attach to the bottom. And if you have multiples of these display stands, you literally can just continue to attach them until you run out of display stands, of course. And you've got yourself a much larger display for all your figures. Move that to the side. We'll move these eye brackets that way. Always just be careful you don't lose those. And then literally the only other thing that comes included with the Warrior alien is really these hands. These hands right here. Now, to look at those and to look at the hands that are already on the hands, or I guess onto the forearms, you can see sort of like the hands seem a little more relaxed, a little flatter, and almost come across a little bit bigger as well. I guess it's really the only difference is these ones kind of have a little more hooked fingers, whereas these ones are just basically like flat hands. To remove the hands and to replace them, just hold onto the forearm and just wiggle carefully off the ball peg. Now the thing about these, because they're already small figures to start off with, it also translates to really quite small pegs. You can see right there on the bottom of the forearm. So again, you're just going to take the hands and attach these in place. And despite for the fact that they actually have such small pegs, I find actually it's a lot easier to change the hands on the alien than it was to change the hands on the Predators. And that's really the only difference between the two. Let me just turn these around so you can see the difference between. See, a little bit bigger, a little flatter, and doesn't have as much the hooked fingers as what we started with. That's the only accessories that come included with this figure. It would have been nice to maybe include... I'm just trying to even think, what would I have included with this alien in the first place? Maybe even just a little egg, or a face hugger, or something. But you're basically just getting the figure on its own. And actually, on its own, despite its limitations, maybe when it comes to what it's packed with, it is actually a nice looking alien. It does have the open and closed mouth, although with the smaller jaw inside, you kind of have to really get that tucked in there. And even then, it doesn't look like it closes the mouth 100%. The inner mouth does open. It's a little harder to get in there, so I actually find it helps. If you take like a little flat object, like just like a little screwdriver here, just on the side, and I'm going to use it as a pointer right now, there's a little lip of plastic just on the side of the jaw. If you catch the screwdriver just against that, you can actually pull the mouth out quite easily. And all I've done is I've just kind of grabbed the side right here. See, like that? And you can kind of just hook onto it. If not for that, it's kind of a little harder to get your finger in there and pull it out, but if you have enough of it sticking out, you kind of reach in and grab it. But yeah, I just find it helps just to grab a little screwdriver. Just hook onto the end of it like you're fishing. Except you're fishing for xenomorph small mouths. And again, you're just going to pull that out a little bit. It does reach out a little bit further, and you can see it's more of a lighter gray plastic than the otherwise dark black plastic that they've used for the rest of the xenomorph body. It's a little loose on the inside, but for me, I don't tend to display any xenomorphs really with the mouths out. I usually always kind of keep them tucked in like that. Now, when it comes to the coloring of this, it's a lot of black. It's really a lot of black. And to be fair, though, I mean, really, the xenomorph in AVP are usually jet black anyways. The only thing that's only a bit of a departure for the alien design is the grid alien, which, of course, has the notable grid lines across the top of its dome, which I don't think yet Hiya Toys have actually made an Exquisite mini of the grid alien. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it does have still the design of the original Giger alien, although you'll notice with the AVP ones, it's got slightly more of a broader neck, which actually I think carried over as well to the Resurrection alien that seemed to have a very similar neck design. Still has the very familiar dome. The only thing I would say, though, when it comes to the actual Exquisite mini here of the alien, while the detailing is really nice on it, there really isn't a lot to break things up. I may have maybe added a slightly shinier dome, so it looked a little bit more different than the rest of the black that they use. I mean, to be fair, though, the black is a different color than the rest of its body, but I would have maybe shined that up even further. I guess I could probably take like a clear coat. I really don't want to add anything to the figure, because the figure is already really good. Where there is, yes, a little bit of additional color that's added to it is the grill of teeth that's on the top and on the bottom. More larger teeth to the top, smaller teeth to the bottom. There's a little bit, unfortunately, where the silver hasn't gone completely to the gum line. So he's got, I don't want to say receding gum lines, but you can kind of see where the silver, this side isn't as bad. But this side right here, you can see more of the black that's sort of bled onto the actual teeth. Other than that, though, like the paint's pretty clean. To be fair, though, I mean, all of it is really black to start off with. What's neat, though, is he does have a wireframe tail, so you can actually move and manipulate this. Also helps to get a more drastic looking pose when you're displaying him, kind of have the tail sort of wrapped around when you're having it displayed. It also adds a little bit of stability, too. You can bring the tail down, and it sort of serves as a third leg, a bit of a tripod, to prevent the figure from falling over. Spinning around so you can see it from the side. Lots of very intricate sculpting that they put to the xenomorph here. The almost malnourished rib cage, slightly smaller waistline here. Again, we spin around to the back so you can see the detail on the back here as well. The purpose certainly of these reviews is to showcase the new figures that are coming out, but I hope more than anything else I'm able to show you guys really up close and personal how much work companies like Hiya Toys put into such small pieces. When you put in perspective how small these figures are, and the amount of work, the amount of sculpting, the amount of detail that these figures actually possess is quite remarkable. So I really like the look of it. Yes, it could have used a little bit more coloring, but keeping to the idea that these xenomorphs are really dark black anyways, it would be very difficult, short of maybe just adding wound areas where you can have the fluorescent green. It's really hard to kind of just paint a figure all black. At least the sculpting doesn't disappoint the figure. I do have slight looseness when it comes to its legs. I have noticed, though, when it comes to the legs seem to have like a drop down. I don't know if you can see it or not. They start up here, but then you can also drop them down, I guess, a little bit if you want to have a further reach on the legs. And there's the sculpting of the feet right there. I guess certainly while we're in the topic of talking about its articulation, we might as well go through it right now. For the articulation on the warrior xenomorph, the head rotates back and forth, goes up, goes down, and basically the ball joint's like right here, right sunken inside the shoulder area there. He has no articulation. I keep calling it he, but he has no articulation at the top here. It's all basically centered right around here. That's where the peg is located. So again, a little bit back and forth, up, down. You can kind of rock it back and forth as well. When it comes to the arms hinge out. You can't quite get a successful 90-degree angle bend. Instead, you're only really going to be getting about a 45. The arms do rotate all the way around. The single hinge on the elbow also serves to let the forearm rotate back and forth this way. So if it wants to wipe and wash your car, you can do that as well. The hands rotate all the way around. Just be careful while you're doing that. The hands don't pop off, again, those little tiny pegs. You can see it even hidden inside the hand right there. Upper torso is on a ball joint. Lower torso is basically just all sculpted, so there's no articulation right there. And as we already looked at, the legs drop down, and it gives you just a little bit more mileage when it comes to the legs moving back and forth. It's a very hard to describe, and hopefully I can show you guys here. It's a very, very small peg right there. It does unfortunately result in the leg being a little more on the looser side. But again, I guess once you get these figures in a pose that you're happy with, you're probably not going to be moving them around too much. See, they're a little on the loose side back and forth like this. Double hinge, though, on the knee. And when it comes to the feet move back and forth, and there's also an ankle pivot as well, which again has the articulation then in the tail. And again, if you want to have these in a slightly more interesting pose, of course, than what I started with at the beginning of this review, yeah, of course, you can bend the legs. And, you can kind of get them in a more lunging pose. And then you can bring along the display stand. Peg the feet to the top of the peg, of course, like that. And then just sort of get it in a pose that you really want and you're really happy with. Now, once you get it on the display stand, though, you've got yourself a nice looking alien. A strong contender, I think, if you would want to get more than one of these. Again, I don't think they've yet released a grid alien. I certainly hope at some point they do. Even though just a generic stock xenomorph warrior is a nice touch. But when I think AVP, the alien that stands out in my mind at least, and tends to be the one that stands out in many other people's minds, is the grid alien. And if they haven't already released it, I would certainly love to see them do it. Basically, it would just involve them using the same mold as what we're getting right here with the warrior. But I hope again at some point, they're going to release a grid alien with the same design, the same makeup as this one. I think that would be a really nice piece to put on display. And again, it really goes to show with the warrior alien here, just attaching that one single peg to the bottom of only one of its feet. You have a stable looking display piece that you can then go in and manipulate the arms to get it the pose that you really want. I do like the look of this one. Yes, admittingly, if you're just going to be having it standing straight, who's really going to be standing their alien straight anyways? But if you're that person that does, you're going to be noticing, yeah, the legs are a little on the loose, floppy side, just by the makeup of the way that its frame is. It has to have long, lanky bodies, long, lanky legs, and it does translate to the joints feeling a little looser on this figure. But again, though, once you've got it on the display stand, the figure has no difficulty standing whatsoever. And I would like to get maybe more than one of these to have on display, because after all, I mean, if the 3 Predators had to contend with an army of aliens, definitely the idea in my mind's popped in there to want to pick up more than one of the warrior aliens to have on display along with those exquisite mini Predators we've looked at already. Again, a big thank you to the folks over at Hiya Toys that provided the sample of warrior. That's actually the only thing it says on the packaging. It doesn't actually say warrior alien, warrior xenomorph. It just says warrior. But being the fact that that font is in front of a picture of an alien, you can kind of put 2 and 2 together, and you know it's a warrior alien. At least I hope you can put 2 and 2 together. If you can't put 2 and 2 together, it's a warrior alien. Again, a big thank you to the folks over at Hiya Toys that provide the sample of the exquisite mini warrior alien that we could have a look at in this review. What do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, would you consider hitting a like? If you're new to this channel, would you consider hitting the subscribe button? And would you consider, if you like the videos that you're seeing here on this channel on a regular basis, that you keep your peepers peeled, because in fact, we will be looking at more exquisite minis from the folks over at Hiya Toys. And as always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.